Oh, there you are. Howdy, I'm Charlie Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. One decides what life is going to be like here on earth, the other one decides what it's going to be like when you leave it. But I also talk to people that the media ignore. Media has no interest in you knowing about what they do. What this man does is get things done. And I like people like that. They don't just talk, they get things done. Now, me, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know my attitude. If it's coming from the left,
The trustees have a few suggestions they would like to submit to you.
I think you know what the trustees can do with their suggestions. I don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it.
so there you go. Now you know where I'm coming from. Edward Escobar is on Do Not Talk today. I'm looking forward. I've been wanting to get. I've heard him speak in person. I've gotten to work with him just a little bit on the most recent recall Governor Hairdo campaign. Let's get an update on that and talk to him and find out what he's doing, because he's a doer. Do not talk. Ready? Hit it. Welcome to the big old bad old broadcast, my friend. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had. That's my favorite joke. So you're like me, a NorCal guy, and you've watched the absolute collapse of it. I don't know if you're a native Californian, but I am. Things are happening now in my state I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. I never thought that we could drop so low, so quickly, so badly, but we have, my friend. You are right there in the front lines. You successfully recalled a couple of. Tell us about your recall efforts and what you've done in the past.
The mayor of Oakland, Sheng Tao, recalled historical, right? And then also Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price. She was the first. Well, her claim to fame always was she was the first Black female elected DA, but she's also the first Black female recalled DA. So, and it honestly is unfortunate for females and Black females to top that off, because she ruined an opportunity for a next up and comer that would have had greater qualities to actually do the job well. So that's really unfortunate that she was a trailblazer in two horrendous ways. So.
Yeah. Both those folks that you've mentioned have been brought up on charges. There's all kinds of dirty dealings in their past, and it's amazing how they're so emboldened and they're so arrogant, even though they have so much dirt in their past and in their record. They'll turn right around and go, "I know what I'll do. I'll run for office."
Right.
It's crazy.
And, yeah, Pam Price, actually, the former DA that we recalled, she has a podcast, believe it or not. You would think that she would be severely disgraced, because we not only beat them, we had a supermajority victory over both of them. So you would think that they would just go off into the oblivion and be forgotten and be a footnote in history. But no,
not on the left. Not on the left.
Not Pamela Price. She doubles down, triple down with the podcast, and comes out and is trying to criticize the existing DA who we helped install. And that was she was a former judge, Superior Court judge, and Judge Ursula Jones Dixon. And she's doing an incredible job. She's actually doing the job as the top cop and prosecutor, and she's prioritized the victims of crime and their families, which is what should have been done to begin with. But instead, no, we had Pam Price, who was a civil rights attorney. She'd never tried a criminal case before. And then she was elevated to that position in this election. And, George Soros had provided funding for her prior in 2016. He also had funded Chesa Boudin and George Gascon. In case you don't know, Chesa Boudin was the DA for San Francisco County and San Francisco the city, and then George Gascon was the DA for LA County and Los Angeles. So, and fortunately, we have completed 3 strikes because another group had basically removed Chesa Boudin. And then on top of that, then we removed Pamela Price, and then George Gascon was removed by election. So that's good. 3 strikes, and they're out of here, which is how it should have been done.
Well,
Correct.
Gascon ran off to L.A., didn't he?
Yeah. He started here in San Francisco, and then they just wanted to spread their damaged, failed policies and failed leadership capabilities to other parts of the state. But it's horrendous because these are 3 major deep blue cities that have an extensive population size. So imagine the lives that were impacted. As I always said, people are dying, businesses are dying, and our communities are dying because of these people, because of their bad policies, which really encouraged this crime wave to be set off. And it's just horrendous that these kind of people are empowered to do such damage to such a beautiful state that California is.
Ultimately, who's to blame, though? I mean, you can only blame the politicians so far.
I mean, ultimately, when they say you're pointing fingers, you've got 3 coming back at you. So we truly, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we have to assume responsibility. Either we fell asleep at the wheel, or we were not active participants and aware in what was going on. And that really is our responsibility. And it's like you said at the top of the show, 2 things that they don't want you to discuss are religion and politics, because at one time they were one and the same, right? The Holy Roman Catholic Empire. And so that's where it's at. And it's we the people need to encourage this continued dialogue about common sense, about sustainable policies, about qualified individuals. And we need to recruit the future leaders of America, because the extreme ultra radical progressives have done a damn good job at recruiting these failed leaders, because they're easy to manipulate and control. They're easy to play as puppets for failures. And that's what they've brought to the table. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. And it's something that we have to assume responsibility for, that we allowed that. And so now's the time to make amends for that and step up and make a change. But it starts, right here, the man in the mirror or woman in the mirror or whatever you want to identify as long as it's common sense, that's what we care about. That's the most important thing. And that we
start by actually getting registered to vote. I mean, on the Republican side of things, everyone keeps saying California is really red. Really? It's not reflected in the people who are registered as Republicans. We're not even showing up for midterm and primary elections. It's in the teens. It's dismal.
Right. And I'll tell you, see, I'm nonpartisan, and I got attacked severely because here in the East Bay area, Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area, it's predominantly Democrats. And then there's a lot. I mean, we're at ground zero for the extreme ultra radical progressives here. And the amount of damage that they've done, that my associates are all Democrats, right? But common sense folks. And, a majority of folks want common sense stability in the center. There's a lot of extreme left, they're extreme right. They want common sense stability. They want peace and tranquility from the center of common sense. And so my goal has always been is to rally folks that believe in the issues of public safety being number one. And then beyond that, I've rallied and helped organize the groups of females, women, for well, they say women's rights, but I always say female rights, because you have these trans issues that they're trying to impose their will upon others and upon women. And I've said to numerous times in talking points, the messaging is that, look, a man, if he wants to feel like a woman, that's his choice, but do it somewhere over there, right? But a man cannot be a female, no matter how much he tries. I mean, unless they surgically do everything, change it over everything completely, then technically they can be, but it's not the same. We know that it's not the same. But that's their business. As long as they don't infringe upon the rights of others, but that's not what we're experiencing. We're experiencing, and that's why they've come to me for my assistance since we were successful with the recalls. We're experiencing where men put on some mascara, they put on some eyeliner, they put on fake lashes, and makeup, and then they feel that they could go and infringe upon the rights of privacy of females in the locker rooms, in the female locker rooms. And they're going in the locker rooms, the changing rooms, like the showers, and then imposing their will upon others, like bullies, right? But it's criminal perversion, to be quite honest. And there's these individuals that have basically found a little gray area they could exploit, and they've taken full advantage of it. And then the managers of the facilities, now these folks, they don't want to get involved in the lawsuit. They don't want to have bad PR. So what do? Before, they'd call the police and have these individuals that are violating the rights of the majority removed. But no, they walk on eggshells. Oh, everyone has their right. Well, their rights are violating the rights of many others, and there's some sick individuals that even show up at the gyms and, prior to little girls' swimming classes and showing up. I mean, we're talking about really sick individuals that have mental issues, and they need help. They need mental help. They need medication. They need something, but they need to be doing it somewhere far away from young girls, from the elderly women, from females that they're claiming to identify with. But what they're doing is being extremely disruptive, and that's really in impeding upon the civil liberties of others. Because if someone doesn't feel safe coming out, into the public life, then they're going to be held hostage in their own home, and that's not what America's about. America's not about.
They're doing in jails too, in California, especially what they're doing in jails and prisons. They, as a perp gets convicted and just says, "Yeah, I'm a chick," and they put him in a women's facility. Now there's a proliferation of rape and women incarcerated women getting pregnant.
Correct.
We pay for that. We foot the bill for all that. And while they're getting their medication to supposedly transition, we're paying for that. We're paying for surgery if they want to go that route completely. We're paying for all of it in California.
Right. On top of that, let's look at it, break that point down. I'm glad you brought that up. Is that the men's prisons are classified on the different levels of intensity of what crime they've committed. The women's, they don't have that. So they take the man who perhaps is on a high level, I forgot the name of it, but high level classification of, just extreme violence and murder and rape and everything. And they throw them into general population with the women, with the females. Yeah. And so, look, I understand some people, their attitude is, well, these people did crimes, so they deserve to be exposed to whatever torture and harm that befits them or befalls them in prison. But here's the problem with that, because I could understand, especially some people that have lost their loved ones at the hands of someone who murdered or did something else horrendous. The problem is that they start on these marginalized people that are in prison. You got to think back to Nazi Germany and those times. They start with the ones that are voiceless. And then from there, they bleed it out to the general population. So we have to be careful. That's a very slippery slope when it comes to civil rights, civil liberties of individuals, because they'll start it someplace else that people are in agreement with and even pass legislation or what have you. But then they take it and they blow it way out of proportion and they turn it on us. And they use it in adverse fashion, which is very damaging. And once legislation is locked into place, good luck trying to undo it. It's super majority. It's next to impossible. So be extremely careful for what you wish for, and you got to look at the legislation carefully with a fine-tooth comb and really see that this many cases, can and will be used against you. And so you have to be very aware. Even like the civil rights, that were basically accomplished to protect blacks after the Civil War, have been used like 90+% of the time by corporations to assert their rights as a person. And that supposedly was not what the intention was of that legislation at the time. It was to help the poor blacks of the South that were suffering from slavery. But you see, that's where legislation put in place then could be co-opted and hijacked and flipped and used against us. We, the people, are the ones who suffer for that. So be extremely careful what you ask for, what you wish for, and like I said, details, because the beauty is in the details, but also the damage could come from the details when we don't provide proper oversight, which leads into oversight and accountability. Another area that we're targeting heavily are these nonprofit grifters. When you look,
NGOs,
yeah, exactly. It should be MPGs, nonprofit grifters, because it's the grift, it's the corruption, and this is criminal. You know, even if they claim that, oh, well, we tried. Well, extreme carelessness equals criminal negligence. And you could prosecute that. And people should do time in prison for that. So we're talking about these nonprofit grifters that are part of the problem, that are in that special interest category, that install these failed politicians with failed policies, and they keep them in the rotation, because the politicians will then funnel money to these cronies of theirs, nonprofit grifters, that then keep them in office. And it's that rotating support mechanism. And it's not just them. You have the union leadership. Now, I'm specific about that because I don't want to malign union workers, because the rank and file in many cases know not what their union leadership are doing in their name and with the money from the union membership dues that they're contributing to. They have no idea in many cases that these unions have become politicized and weaponized. And so you have the combination of the union leadership tied to a national agenda, which does not care about local issues that are destroying quality of life. And so that's damaging. But when they pair up with the nonprofit grifters, plus let's throw in the billionaire ideologue philanthropists. The first one comes to mind, of course, is George Soros, but there's a lot of other small, medium-sized folks that are significant contributors to the ultra-radical progressive agenda. And that's not just statewide, but it's nationally as well. And you have also the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. Well, they throw the Democrats in there to throw everybody off, but their real agenda is socialism, communism. And, you know, some parts of a socialistic model are great, like Social Security, you know, Medicare. There's some programs that are effective, you know, that do work for the people. But once again, we need it to move towards the center. These folks, they thrive off of pushing everything towards extreme. And it's quite interesting too, because I'm Edward Escobar, right? I'm Cuban and Puerto Rican. My roots go back to Spain, so it's European, so that's why I look the way I do. But a lot of these folks, they believe, these ideologues, they romanticize communism and socialism, but they've never been to those countries. They've never seen the suffering that they endure. So yeah, on paper sounds wonderful. In practice, fails miserably. And that's why a lot of folks want to leave Cuba, right? And so, China, the same thing. Why do we have so many Asians, Chinese over here? If everything was so great there, they would have stayed there. Now, but let me tell you something. China has the most millionaires and billionaires on the planet too. So they have two levels of justice there. The same thing in like communist Cuba. Their communist leadership, they live separate and apart. Fidel Castro, he didn't live in the palace there that they had in Havana. Why? Because he wanted to have, was a 200-acre compound, and it was withdrawn from the public eye. So he didn't live like the rest of the people in his country. And let's not forget where he came from. He was a lawyer. He came from a lawyer, and he was a bastard son of a plantation owner who was successful, that worked for the United Fruit Company, which is the precursor to the CIA. So look, these stories like the romanticizing of Che Guevara, and Che Guevara got played by Fidel Castro as well. He was used as a pawn and then disposed of when he was no longer necessary, and basically a potential threat to Fidel Castro's power in Cuba. So my point is, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the cover story. It's never as good as it appears to be. And these folks with the DSA, they are dangerous because they infiltrate the schools, they infiltrate the teachers' associations, they infiltrate the nurses' associations. And, it's unfortunate that labor aligns itself with the left, right? Because labor is across the board, but labor is a huge component of the middle class. So what happens is the extreme left wants to take labor and say, oh, we have control and ownership over labor. And look how poorly they mismanage that, right? And then extreme right wants to say, oh, business all over here, corporations and everything. No. Middle class is comprised of labor and predominantly small to small, medium-sized businesses, right? Removing the big mega corporations, of course. And that's the backbone of America. And that's what we need to preserve. That's what we need to fight for. We need to pull together towards the center.
The big corporations want nothing more than those businesses to go away because they hate competition.
Right. And then all of that business, all of that power, it tsunamis upwards to them. And you have the political, the corporatist globalists, right, that control on high. They don't care about what, the little people, what impacts them, short term, medium term. Their thing is, the corporation as a person is basically, when you're talking about profiling, right? Corporation as a person is qualified and classified as a sociopath. Now, would you trust a sociopath to manage and administer your country, your family, for that matter? No, you would not. A sociopath is not to be trusted. Their focus entirely is bottom line corporate profits, and it doesn't matter who they step on. Now, then you look at the homeless industrial complex, which is like a corporation. These are just the different
multi-billion-dollar business.
Multi-billion-dollar business across the country. And so these grifters have found that getting their buddies and cronies, hey, launch a nonprofit, and then we could funnel you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's why, it's great that Trump is shaking things up and basically creating an environment where the deeply entrenched organizations are now being scrapped, right? And then now there's new opportunities, and he does need to go after a lot of the homeless industrial complex. I'll say, unfortunately, there are some good programs that are out there that are being unfairly touched, and my concern always falls for the seniors. The Meals on Wheels, the programs for children where you see direct results, where food is going into their mouths. Like those things, we must protect those that are benefiting, because we are custodians of the elderly and the children. They can't fend for themselves, and also the disabled.
That's biblical, buddy. Take care of the widows and orphans. That's biblical.
Yeah, it is. But look what they've done to distance the fear of God, right, or the love of God from the whole process, so that so people are raised with no respect of anything, and they don't have respect for themselves. And look, charity starts at home. If you don't respect yourself, you can't respect someone else. If you don't love yourself first, you can't love someone else. If you don't trust yourself first, you can't trust anyone else. So they have basically pulled the rug out from under the society and made people even question their whole identity, their whole existence of who are you? What are you? What's your identity? Oh, I'm a cat. I'm a dog. What? Really? I don't think the cats and dogs will appreciate you overstepping into their area. No. The dogs, cats, unconditional love and attention, right? You can't say human beings do that. And you've seen the National Geographics and all these shows about nature, that you see animals, my God, they take better care in many cases of their offspring than human beings. And then you ask yourself, where's the humanity? Where is it gone? But it's once again, it's our fault, our responsibility that we pushed off because we listen to the politicians that say, oh, don't have these discussions. Don't get knowledgeable about what's going on even in your own backyard. Leave it to us. We'll take care of it for you.
From
and
cradle
sure
to
enough,
grave. That's socialism.
And sure enough, they'll take care of it for you. They'll take care of it right into their own pocket. And it's not just profit. There's also power and influence. So profit, power, and influence, those three combined. If you have power and influence, in some cases, you don't even need money, right? Because everything is free for you. But that same theory of free, right? The Democratic Socialists of America, with their fake affordable housing that is nowhere near affordable for the local population who lives in the area. It's these contracts that are made with unions that are grifting hard, right? And their prices are overinflated, and local people can't even afford the prices of their entry-level units. So it's basically tax subsidized housing. It's nothing affordable about this housing. It's nothing truly affordable about it. So they play all these games. It drains the funds from the taxpayers. And then they keep increasing taxes and then reducing the amount of services that they provide to the electorate, to the constituents, right? So it's austerity movement. They charge more, they give less. Charge more, give less. And basically that discretionary income that's being sapped from your pocketbook is your financial freedom. It gives you an opportunity to have that time in your life to enjoy life. As they say, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, right? You have to stop and smell the roses. And instead, what they want is to wear you down and wear you out like a hamster on a hamster wheel. just going in circles and not making any progress. And to think that these folks hijack the term progressive, and progressive truly means forward moving to advance, right? It's not true. It's not true. It's a bait and switch is what it is. A bait and switch is fraud. That's misrepresentation of facts. And that's what these folks that are on high are doing. And let me tell you, I try not to malign progressives too badly. That's why I refer to them as these extreme, ultra radical, extreme progressives, because there are some individuals that believe in helping out, am I my brother's keeper? They believe in theory of what they're talking about, that it may lead to a greater society for all. But look at the reality, look at the failures. And the problem is these ultra radical progressives, which I refer to them, are fake progressives. They really are in it to perpetuate dysfunction, because that's where they make their profits. There's a need and a dependency, a detrimental reliance, if you will, that occurs, and that's where they make their profits.
Depends on us from cradle to grave.
Yeah, there is no metrics that are followed. There's no oversight. There's no accountability. There's no consequences, because results are not required. Now, if you or I have a company and we produce a product, then that product better bring results that some benefit and usefulness. In their case, they created this niche, this little niche that they've been able to exploit. And that basically drains the coffers of the taxpayers. So that way we cannot truly progress in life. And that what suffers? Quality of life. And a lot of things that we're lacking relate to quality of life issues. We're the richest country in this world, damn it. It's no excuse whatsoever that this should be occurring. But getting back to the beginning of the show, who's responsible for this? We are.
We are.
Combined.
And the media. I'll throw my business into the mix.
But we allow the media because it's the FCC that regulates the media. I mean, look how powerful that was when Trump threatens, ABC, NBC, and they
Disney,
pull right away. Like these talk show hosts are very powerful, right? It seems like they're almost untouchable, but they threaten the FCC and right away. So threaten the FCC for other reasons, not just that they spoke poorly about Trump, but that the companies themselves, corporate-owned mainstream media, is not serving the best interest in the best possible way of the people. We own those airwaves. So Trump brought it back to the reality of fact, is that these folks have to answer to us. And it has to be for quality of life issues that they should be held accountable to as well. And also to the fact that Trump's going after the nonprofits that are funding a lot of this dysfunction and destruction on the streets. The riots that they had, on their No Kings and all this other stuff. Let me bring out another fact too. Now, our economy has been suffering. There's instability, so on and so forth. But those No Kings, radical rallies that they had, and then the ICE countering the ICE immigration enforcement, has hurt California tourism so badly that people see that not just national tourism that would come to California, international tourism. Why would they take vacation in Crazy Town? Nobody's going to do that. Costs too much to come all the way over to here to be in the midst of craziness. So businesses that rely on tourism throughout California, because it's such a beautiful climate that we have here, suffer because of this. And they say, oh, they're there to help them. Are they really? Really? No, not at all. Not at all. Look at the results on the streets. And they say, oh, wait, it'll get better. When? Yeah. Like when? Do you say that to someone that you love that has cancer? Oh, wait, don't do anything. It'll get better on its own. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Or
You know,
just give us time. Just give us time to let
right.
you suffer more. And our
Yeah.
programs that we've done that we've put in place. They'll work. Just got to give them
Yeah.
time. No, they don't work, and your time is done.
Right.
And going back to the media didn't really report on Governor Hairdo giving a nice little break to his buddy who owned Panera bread. Also, a nice tax break to that pig that operates Netflix.
Yeah.
I didn't see that any of the California news stations
Yeah,
reported on that.
his wife is heavy supporter, you know, and you have to keep in mind that Newsom was at the helm when the tech titans of Silicon Valley were having their way in San Francisco and just exploding like crazy. And then he said nothing, he did nothing. Same thing with Kamala Harris. You know, she was the DA, you know, prosecutor there, and then she was the state attorney general. And they let the tech titans of Silicon Valley just run amok, ride roughshod over society, do whatever they want. Doesn't matter, violate labor laws, wage theft, you name it. Hey, you know why? Because they contribute millions of dollars to their campaigns.
There it is.
And, you know, Tony West, who was the VP, right, in charge of he's the chief legal officer, the CLO, Tony West of Uber, and that is Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, right? So how does Uber get away with all the excessive exploitation and walking right over workers' rights, right? Which is supposed to be a big Democrat thing, right?
Such friends to the union, but yet union taxi drivers have been put out of business.
Right, exactly. So a blind eye when it's convenient, that's self-serving. So that's what we're talking about. Newsom, he's done the same thing. He plays the politics, and for those who are paying attention, which you need to, you know, and even listening to Charlie to help open your eyes, and then go do the rest of the research. Don't trust Charlie. Don't trust my word. Do your own research. We're just opening up the door for you, the Pandora's box, if you will. Take a look inside. Self-discovery is a son of a bitch. I mean, it's great. It's great to have the awakening, but you have to own it. You have to own it. Don't trust 100% on anyone. We're just here to give you a little bit of a taste test, an appetizer plate, if you will, and then continue to investigate on your own to have that self-discovery process. It's really amazing, right, Charlie? When you come to learn more and more, and you know, they say that when you stop learning, you start dying. I don't want to die. Do you want to die, Charlie?
Not
right?
ready. Not
So
yet.
keep learning. We're like a sponge. Keep using the gray matter and don't let it go to waste. Don't let that space between your ears just be, a decorative space, because, you know, there's a lot that we could do. Look, no one ever thought that we could do the recalls. We did 2 in one election cycle. We removed the mayor of Oakland in a deep, soggy, ultra radical, extreme progressive place, which is Oakland, California, right? And then also the DA, who was a supporter of the anti-police terror project, a supporter of defund the police, right? And she's supposed to be the top cop. Do you think that she had the respect of law enforcement? No. I had conversations with different folks in PD, sheriff, and so on and so forth. And, you know, off the record, they would tell me, you know, hey, don't repeat this, but, you know, we can't stand their MFing asses, and we want them out. Why? Because they're compromising their own safety. They want to be able to get back to their homes and their wives and their kids too. They're doing a job. They need to be supported, not demonized. These folks are demonizing them. They're demonizing them, which were undercutting them and their ability to do their job. You know, they put a target on their back. They created these fictitious police, like Oakland Police Commission, right? And it's loaded. Their commission's loaded with ultra radical extreme progressives that have an agenda that are entirely biased against police, and they hate police. They want to remove police altogether. But that brings in what? Helter skelter and chaos and crises.
That's what they want, is anarchy. Anarchy. Bring
yeah.
down the state of California, you bring down the rest of the country.
Exactly. As goes California, thus goes the rest of the nation. That's when it comes to laws, that's how it's been. When it comes to damage, God forbid that happens. You know, I know there's a lot of folks, and you probably heard it throughout the country, because I've organized and worked with independent truckers as well. And look, there's a lot of comments that are made about, oh, I hate you Californians, you guys ruining it for the rest of the country and this and that. And it's like, we get it, but California is a beautiful place. And you see, we have more farmland than a majority of other states combined. We produce most produce and fruits and everything else. So outside the deep blue
soggy farm. If you're a corporate farm, if you're an independent family farm, they're cutting back your water and starving you out of business.
That's another issue, is big agri, like big pharma. Anytime things get too big like that and they drive out the mom and pops, you know, then there's a problem. There's a problem. And so you need to look for these areas that have dysfunction, because that's where it's exploited. And to the extreme that they do that. I mean, how many billions of dollars do people like Bezos need, or Musk? They don't need that much. But it's power and influence that goes beyond once they hit that level, and they're untouchable. And hopefully Musk has not really gone away completely, and he could still help. But I mean, bottom line is, these folks, it's all about profits, right? You know, and I'm not against profits. But I just don't believe there should be extreme profits causing extreme human suffering at the same time. When we have plenty of resources to go around, we should practice what's taught in the Bible, and that we are all children of God, and we all look out for each other, and we take care of each other. Before there were all these other organizations and nonprofits, the community stepped up, right? What do they say? It takes a village. What's that mean? It takes a village to watch out for each other and take care of each other. But a lot of that was done locally. Why? Because they knew what areas of problems and challenges that needed to be addressed, and they knew how to take care of it because they were in touch with the people in the trenches. And so it was very direct. When you get too many layers deep and too many layers removed, then you have what we have today, are these politicians that, you know, basically they're legislators, and they're legislating on things that they have no clue, nor do they care about. They don't care about it. So who do they listen to? The lobbyists, because the lobbyists are over there tweaking their ears and paying big bucks and supporting their campaigns.
Yep.
And that's what happens. Absolutely. And so, but we can lobby too. We have the power, and we're more effective lobbyers. Why? Because we're from the trenches. We know our stories. We have the human interest. We have the human suffering, all of that we could speak to directly. Lobbyists could only talk about it from a distance. And a majority of those lobbyists, I mean, honestly, a lot of them are up to no good. I mean, they're good for their own pocket, right? For profits. But when you put profits ahead of people, it's a bad outcome usually. There's no reason why you can't pursue profits and help your people at the same time. You do a good job, the people will automatically support you and give you many more profits. You'll be extremely more successful, and you'll be sustainable in your communities and with your marketplace as well. Because who wouldn't want a perfect combination like that of sensibility, sustainability, and concern and empathy from a business, a corporation that cares about its people, it cares about its product, you know? And we become so detached from that, and because why? There hasn't been consequences. That's why. Until we come on the scene, a lot of people are saying, hey, to us, thank you for coming on the scene. Because when we walk into a room, they call us the recallers. I prefer to call myself a recallologist. It sounds a little bit more professionally titled, you know.
I like it.
But you like that, right? Yeah.
I do.
So yeah, when we walk into like Oakland City Council chambers, oh, it's the recallers. Oh, it's them again. Oh, you know, now the problems. No. Now the solutions is what we're bringing, because they don't like to hear it, because we're going to speak truth to power, and that power could be faced off. And when you face it off, it may appear to be a lion, turns out to be a little mouse. If maybe not even a mouse, how about a cockroach that needs to be stamped out? And that's really what we're dealing with. A lot of these folks too, they come from out of the area, and I mean way out of the area. I'll give you an example. In Oakland, the city council, these folks came from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, from Michigan, from Ontario, Canada. These folks, and let's keep it to California. The mayor that we recalled, she came from Stockton, which, you know, it's a little bit further out, more Central Valley-ish, but not deeply rooted in the local community. So, you know, they're more apt to do things that'll cause harm and damage because there's no immediate repercussions, because they didn't grow up here. You know, they didn't eat, sleep, and breathe what it means to be in this local community. So they're detached once again. Those are the ones that caused all these problems here. Now, they're played also like pawns, because they're not the master manipulators. They're only being used as tools. But look at the destruction that they've unleashed. And this all started 2008 here in when it comes to this current breed of ultra radical extreme progressives. And that's because of these policies that have been driven. This whole plan and strategy is all from on high. This is not something that's done locally. And you could tell, because you go to LA and you listen to the city council members over there, you listen to politicians over there, and they speak the same language. It's identical.
Yeah,
it's
weird.
Cookie cutter.
Like they're getting their marching orders. Here's what we're calling this. Here's the verbiage you're going to use for that, and they all do.
And you'll see that, like you mentioned earlier, about corporate-owned mainstream media. They'll do the same thing in messaging when it comes from the top from them. This is what you need to say, and the reporters say it to the T. The anchors, they say it to the T, exactly, verbatim. Same thing with the politics. That's why I tell people, you know, oh, okay, so you're from Oakland. Oh, I don't look at things outside Oakland. Why not? You got to look at the areas that they've made improvements, the things that they've had to wrestle with. In San Francisco, maybe they've made improvements and had to wrestle with the same exact problems, which in most cases it is. It is. And then you could see how they got over the problem and were able to create some success out of it. Los Angeles is the same thing. You have to pay attention to what's going on outside your bubble, because that way you'll know what to expect, maybe what's coming down the pipeline, and you could prepare and prevent it. You know, prevention is huge. You know, with public safety, I'm a big proponent of crime prevention, because if you prevent the crime, and I'll tell you my backstory, it's because I worked for Palo Alto Police Department in crime prevention. I saw the results, reducing crime in 1 year's time by 30%. Amazing. Amazing. So if you could prevent crime, deter crime, right, then you don't have to chase the person. Then you don't have to be accused of police brutality, apprehending. Then you don't have to prosecute, spend all that time and money. Then you don't have to incarcerate, right? And then you don't have to reintegrate that person back into society. If they're young enough, they're going to get out and do more damage and then repeat the whole cycle again. Very costly to society in many more ways than just monetarily, right? So, and you know, the prison industrial complex is another thing where you could, they're in, warehousing people that you could send them to Stanford University for what you're spending there. And I really wish Trump would focus more on cleaning out like the prisons of the heavy duty extreme criminals, and send them all back to their countries and make them, you know, in violation of their agreement to become a citizen. And not just go for the low-hanging fruit at Home Depot and stuff like that. let's clean out from the top, the worst of the worst. Let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of them, because they violated their pact, right? They violated what it meant to be American. And you know what? For that, you lose that benefit.
And we're paying for it. To house
that
them,
we're paying for.
To
and we're housing
them,
them. We're housing them.
Medical, we're paying for all of it. But that's a state and county thing for the most part, isn't it? Jails and prisons.
Right.
How many
but there's failed policies, like you mentioned, about the men being put in the female prisons, right? And then also this other thing, like in San Quentin, where the state prisons where you have
he's turning it into a little Governor Hairdo's turning the maximum security San Quentin, where Charles Manson and other such murdering thugs were housed and kept there until they were supposed to be killed. We voted as the population of California, yes, we want the capital punishment back. And Governor Hairdo literally said, nobody's going to be killed on my watch. Unless
so then get rid of death row. You know how much it costs to incarcerate?
He is getting rid of death row. He's turned it into like a little utopia camp.
Right. But I'm saying, but they charge a lot more money for folks on death row than in regular general population. So then if you're not going to truly execute people, then get rid of death row, save us taxpayers some money, and stop with the nonsense. He's turning it into a resort, a country resort, in a kumbaya. I've known people that work, with the prison industrial complex, and they complain to me. A lot of people think that we could solve all the problems of the world. We can't do that. Thank you, God, for helping us to do what we've done, but we're not the end all be all fixing everything, but we're doing what we can. But yeah, he's taking the prisons and trying to use an approach that's used like in Scandinavian countries. Well, we're not monocultural. We're not, you get what I'm saying? So we have such a mixture, a hodgepodge of so many different racial and cultural and religion, different identities. I mean, even now the identity, as a cat, a dog, or whatever, all these other crazy things that does not allow for that homogenous approach. So, and yet it's all experimental, right? Human social experiment. Who pays the price? Obviously taxpayers, but then us, we pay the price in quality of life, because everything else suffers because of their poor policies, their failed policies, and their failed leaders. That's why I did the Capitol rally August 3rd and invited Randy Economy for the recalls, is because we wanted to point out Newsom's failed policies and also failed leaders.
And you did beautifully.
Thank you. It could have been better attended, as you know, because we want to share the love and information with many more people. But, through the YouTube, we're able to push it out exponentially, and we encourage people to check it out on YouTube as well. But thank you for that. And thank you too, sir, for participating, because that's where I met you and that's why I'm here today. But this is the beauty of the network and networking, right? Because you have to work the network in order to make it effective. And like folks talking common sense together and sharing that in a group setting that's, group think, mind think, that together and all the individual great ideas come together into our melting pot. And then we're able to execute on them and exercise them and really truly practice what it means to be an American, damn it. It's like, that's the beauty of our country. That's the beauty of, we should not lose it. And just because we have access and we don't use it, what is that all about, Charlie? What do they say?
I get it, brother. That's my biggest frustration. Mark Twain, my favorite, Samuel Clemens, my favorite quote from him is, it's easier to fool. No, what is it? It's easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they have been fooled.
Right.
And my own fellow Californians are putting these immensely wicked and horrible people into tremendous positions of power because they're not paying attention. They're not even
Exactly.
getting involved. And that rally that you mentioned was that was a dismal turnout. I'm like, what the hell? Where are my
Yeah.
own fellow conservatives with all this? Why are they not showing up for any of this?
Yeah, we had a
And,
couple hundred, but still, I mean, because it's such a vast space and people were spread out, and there were some people that were coming and then going. It was a hot day, and we did not have shelter coverage in the main seating area, which my face, I got burnt after that. And it was very hot. And I understand because there's some people health-wise, they can't endure that kind of exposure. But yeah, it should have been exactly as you say, Charlie. It should have been better attended and supported. Yeah.
And it was an attempt to recall Governor Hairdo. Now, 4 years ago,
Right.
I do believe we did recall him. I think there was
Right.
severe election fraud.
Yeah.
This time around, couldn't even garner enough signatures to get it on the ballot. But yet they're spending my own tax dollars, $150 million, to put Prop 50 into a
No,
special election.
it's more than
coming
200.
November.
More than 200 million.
More than 200 million. Oh,
Yeah,
even
and get this, but yet for public safety Prop 36, he's only spent like $100 million. Like and that's a drop in the bucket for California, right? But yet for this Prop 50 redistricting, gerrymandering that he wants to do, oh yeah, let the dollars flow, right? Because it's our dollars. But yet we call him, and we've had numerous press conference and rallies calling out Governor Newsom. And I've been effective at coalescing mayors. I had the mayor of San Jose. I had the mayor of Milpitas, the mayor of Cupertino, vice mayor of Fremont. And so we're working with a number of mayors, mayor of Dublin. So a number of mayors are coming out together, and we're actually putting together a coalition of mayors that will demand that Newsom fully fund Proposition 36. And what does it take? Most effectively, public shaming. That's what it takes. And we call them out and call them out and call them out, and we lock on like a pit bull, right? And we don't let go until we get the results. That's how we won the recalls. That's how we run the recalls. And that's by that tactic, that approach is effective. We had a very small team to begin with, very small team. And the team that drove it all the way to the end was still small. It was just a handful of people. But to let you know, if you see the example of Jesus and his disciples, it was just him and a handful of people. And if he could do it, anyone could do it. But it takes us coming together for common sense. Yes. And stand together. United we stand, divided we won't be. And you have to stick to that. And you say, no, I will not relent. I will not give up, no matter what. Stay principled, stay focused. You'll get the results that you are looking to achieve. Don't give up. Be ruthless. Ruthless. Be passionate with your conviction to the end. And then your end is the beginning of many other great opportunities for people.
And start by getting registered to vote. Register to vote.ca.gov. Only about 40% of those who claim to be Christian in California are even registered to vote. Just the Christian vote could turn this state around. Right. Register to vote.ca.gov. Get registered to vote. Good heavens.
And tell two people. And tell two people. And have them tell two people, and so on and so forth. And that's how you create that wave of influence. And it's really for the greater good. We need to communicate with each other better. Stop talking at each other and start speaking with each other and start sharing and caring. Caring is sharing, right? Sharing is caring. Vice versa. Yeah, exactly.
Start by sharing this show. Start by sharing this show and what Edward Escobar and people like him are doing on the front lines, where you're just sitting back going, oh gosh, what do we do about it? Well, there's all kinds of things you can do about it. How do we follow you? How do we find you? How do we get involved with what you're doing?
Correct. Yeah. Well, with me, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, Edward Escobar. I'm on Facebook, Edward Escobar as well. If you look at hashtag Citizens Unite, you just put that in and all our stuff will come up on Facebook. You could just Google me, Edward Escobar recalls Yeah, Edward Escobar, Citizens Unite, Edward Escobar Coalition for Community Engagement. And you'll see a lot of the news stories. Like I said, we've been tracking and covering a lot of the small businesses that have been under attack in the Bay Area, and proving that there is an active crime wave and that something has to be done now. Otherwise, there is no tomorrow, and we don't have the luxury of time. So we're also advising the city of Fairfax there. They have a recall on the ballot. So elections coming up for them November 4th. They're going to be recalling their mayor and vice mayor. These are also two Democratic Socialists of America products of failure. And they come from the nonprofit grifting sector as well. So these folks, they try to introduce rent controls. They try to introduce everything that shouldn't have been introduced. And the community just had it up to here. They're sick and tired. Enough is enough. And so we help them. We advise them. Like, I was working with Randy Economy to get the word out as well. So we're working, also supporting other candidates that are common sense folks. And we'll do the same. It doesn't matter for me personally what party they're in. If they're common sense and they have great policies, we'll support them. So let's think that way to get people together towards the center of common sense, so that way America can succeed and not just barely survive.
That's awesome, buddy. Edward Escobar, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you more than you know, my friend. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks for having me, sir. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And you can support this show and follow me and watch shows and support me financially. And you can buy some merchandise from the store I have there, and contact me, even book a guest slot on the show. You got something you want to talk about and promote, you can do that all in one place, charliesimons.com, CharlieSimons.com. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.